There's several factors to consider when moving to the Baltimore metro region, and there are several places that are really popular to live. And so I hear a lot of times, is it better to live closer to Washington, D.C.? Is it better to live closer to Baltimore? Is it better to live in an urban environment? Is it better to live in the suburbs? So today we are going to be doing a comparison video on living in Columbia, Maryland, which is located in Howard County, and living in Baltimore City, Maryland. We're going to be diving deep into things like demographics, cost of living, public schools. So if you are thinking about moving to the Baltimore metro region and you want to know some of the differences between living in a suburban area like Columbia versus living in Baltimore City, you have come to the right place, and we're going to get into it right now. If you are new to my channel, welcome. You have come to the right place if you are looking for everything there is to know about living, working, and thriving in the Baltimore metro region. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and you tap the bell for notifications so that you can be informed whenever there is new content about Baltimore Metro on the channel. My name is Persia and I am a local real estate agent. I help people every single day, just like you, who are making the transition to the Baltimore metro region, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to move in the next 90 or 90 days, please make sure that you reach out to my team and to myself. You can reach us via email, via text message, phone call. We can schedule a video call, and it would be our absolute pleasure to help you make a smooth transition to the Baltimore metro region. Columbia, Maryland is located in Howard County and is a very popular suburb, which it's truly a Baltimore suburb. It's not really a DC suburb because it's closer to Baltimore than it is to Washington, DC. It's about a 50-minute drive from Washington, DC versus about a 30-minute drive from Baltimore. So again, it truly is a Baltimore suburb. Some of the reasons to compare these two regions is that Columbia is a really popular area for families to move. So for folks who are thinking about transitioning from Baltimore City, Columbia tends to be a really good place for them to go, but it's also one that has a higher price point. So sometimes people think about Baltimore because it is a more affordable place to live than Howard County. One of the biggest things to think about is population. Again, Columbia is a suburb. It only has about 105,000 residents, where Baltimore City has almost 600,000 residents. So obviously population and population density is going to be a lot different between these two areas. When you go to Columbia, you will notice that it feels like the suburbs. When you drive around, you see wide open streets, you see a lot of strip malls, you see areas that have shopping centers and restaurants and things like that. And then you see neighborhoods that are kind of built around these shopping plazas. And Columbia was actually built as a planned community. So it's built very intentionally to have this kind of suburban feel. On the other hand, Baltimore, Maryland is an urban environment. It is a city. It was established in the late 1700s, and you can see that in its architecture. You can see that in the fact that some of the areas of Baltimore have very, very tight roads. There are cobblestone streets, and it really shows you that this was not a city that was planned or that was designed in the modern era. It is an old town and an old city. You'll also see this difference in terms of the population when it comes to the types of housing that is available. Newer housing exists in the Columbia area because, again, it was a planned community. It's a newer developed community, whereas Baltimore is an older community, has a lot of row houses, and because of its population density, has a lot of homes that are packed into a smaller area. So there are going to be some areas of the city that do feel really congested, that feel like you don't have a lot of space, a lot of green space, which is a reason why you might prefer Columbia over Baltimore. If you want more space, you want more yard, you want homes that feel a little bit newer, Columbia could be a better fit for you. Another thing that's important to note between these two places, Baltimore and Columbia, are the demographics. The median age in Columbia is just a little bit higher than in Baltimore. The median age in Columbia is 39, whereas the median age of residents in Baltimore City is 36. Another thing that I think is quite important to consider about some places when you are thinking of moving to them is demographics and diversity. And diversity is really something that Columbia really champions, having all types of people, and was really designed and built for that. So that's something that's important to know and to recognize. But Baltimore has diversity too. These statistics were based on the last census reading in both Columbia and in Baltimore City, and I want to make sure I get the numbers right. So when we are comparing the number of white residents, 44% of Columbia's residents are white versus 27% of Baltimore's residents. Black residents, 27% of Columbia is Black, whereas 60% is Black in Baltimore City. The Asian population of Columbia is 13%, whereas it's only 2.5% in Baltimore City. And finally, the Hispanic population in Columbia is 8%, whereas the Hispanic population in Baltimore is right around 5.5%. Now, another thing that is important to consider when we are comparing Columbia, Maryland versus Baltimore City, Maryland are public schools. Now, Howard County is ranked #1 in terms of public schools in all of the state of Maryland. So that's really a hard comparison to live up to, right? In Baltimore City, niche.com gives Baltimore City schools a ranking of a C-. And so we know, I know as a former educator, that Baltimore has some struggles when it comes to public schools, and this is due a lot to poverty. There are plenty of pockets in Baltimore that have little investment, that have high rates of poverty. Obviously, public schools are funded by local tax dollars, and when you don't have a lot of tax dollars, or when you are in an impoverished community, the public schools surrounding it are going to struggle as well. Howard County has a higher tax base, has higher property taxes, has higher home values, and because of that, it has a higher threshold for public schools and the resources for these schools. So it's important to know that Columbia, Maryland has much stronger public schools than Baltimore City does. Similarly, Howard County and Columbia, Maryland have a higher cost of living than Baltimore City does. The average median income for folks in Howard County or in Columbia, Maryland specifically is around $140,000 versus Baltimore City, where the median income is only $58,000. The median home value in Howard County, or specifically in Columbia, Maryland, is $460,000, whereas in Baltimore City, the median home price is about $185,000. So that is a significant difference. One of the things that I talk a lot about in my videos regarding Baltimore City is how affordable it is. And it is a place where you can get into a home at a reasonable price point. You can sit on it for a while, you can gain some equity, and then use that to transition to other parts of the county if it's no longer suiting your needs. And that's what I see from a lot of my clients who make the decision to transition from Baltimore City to Howard County, because sometimes if you don't have equity built up, or if you don't have a lot of cash on hand, it's harder to buy into these counties like Howard County, like Columbia, like Montgomery County, where the cost of living is higher and the cost of housing is higher. So what happens is a lot of times, especially younger people, they see the opportunity that these lower home prices and lower cost of living offers in Baltimore, and so they use that to leverage it and to, help them out down the line and in the future so that they can get their forever home in a place that has higher home values and better schools and that type of thing. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do not have a ton of money to work with to put down on a home and that sort of thing, then it's going to be much easier to buy into Baltimore City than it is to buy into a jurisdiction like Columbia, Maryland. I think one of the biggest differences between Baltimore City and Columbia, Maryland is just the general feel of the community. I personally am originally from North Carolina, and I'm from a suburban community. I'm from Cary, North Carolina. And so it's the suburbs, right? You have wide open streets, you have neighborhoods, you have shopping centers that are kind of surrounding the neighborhoods, you have schools, and that's the feel, right? That is very much Columbia. So some people might feel it is too suburban, it's too vanilla. One of the things I do like a lot about Columbia is that it has a lot of parks, it has a lot of outdoor green spaces. It puts a lot of money and investment in its parks and green spaces. So that provides a great opportunity for people who like to be outside, who love nature. But one of the main differences between Columbia and Baltimore City is that Baltimore has a lot of history, it has historic charm, and it has a lot of culture in the city itself that is different than living in a suburban community. Baltimore may not be super manicured and have, you know, perfect suburban streets and shopping centers and things like that. It might be a little dirty sometimes, might, you know, have blocks of some houses that are vacant and uninhabitable, but it also has the charm. It has all of these historic neighborhoods that are waterfront, like Fells Point, and that are charming with its cobblestone streets, and, you know, it has history. And so there's also kind of a diversity of ideas and different people who live in Baltimore City that give it really a dynamic feeling that might be missing if you are living in a suburban area like Columbia. One of the last things that I'll mention in terms of differences between Columbia and Baltimore City are the crime rates. And I'm not going to give specific crime information for each of these places. You can find them online, and I'll even put a link down below where you can kind of take a look if you're interested in crime statistics. But property crime and violent crime are much, much lower in Columbia, Maryland than in Baltimore, Maryland. In fact, according to a WBAL news article published in 2023, Columbia is one of the safest cities in all of the United States. And in comparison, Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore City fell at number 163 on that list. So you can definitely see the differences between these jurisdictions. Now, with all of that being said, there are definitely things to love about living in both places, in Columbia, Maryland, and in Baltimore, Maryland. And I will say that I've lived in Baltimore for a really long time. I certainly enjoy it. I know people who live in Columbia, they absolutely love it. So if you've been thinking about moving to either place or anywhere in the Baltimore metro region, please reach out to me. Please reach out to my team. We are here to help you. You can reach us via phone call, text message, email. We can set up a video call. We can chat about your goals and how we can help you make a smooth transition to the Baltimore metro region. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.